everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to 20Q, where we learn, 20Q, 20 questions with interesting people, where we learn the origin stories of everyday superheroes in the LGBT community and friends. I am your host, the very handsome Tim Kirk,
Very nice.
and our guest this time is Charlie Fish. Hi,
Hello.
Charlie.
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so
This
happy
is
you're
exciting.
here.
I don't consider myself an interesting person, so
Oh,
I'm
you
flattered
should.
that you can think of me as such.
I think you're fabulous. And people are going to find out you have an interesting story to tell. Guaranteed.
Thank you.
So we're going to just jump right into it.
All right.
Okay, first question. Question number one. A bit about your background. Where are you originally from, and what was it like?
Okay, let's get down and dirty. So I was born here in New York to Dominican parents. My mom, she came over when she was 17, pregnant with me. And a story I like to tell is that, my mom told me this, that when she was pregnant with me, she was trying to decide a name. Originally, she was thinking of Arnold. Thank God she didn't name me that. But at the time when she was watching television, it was she was watching the Prince Charles and Princess Diana wedding.
Oh, really?
And so she looked down at her belly, her growing belly, and she was like, "This is my little prince," and that's how I got my name.
Oh, that's a good name. That's a good story.
Thank you. That's the only interesting tidbit I have. No, I'm kidding.
No,
and then shortly afterwards, my mom and my father, they didn't work out. So she moved to Miami, and that's where I grew up. So born in New York, raised in Miami, but I have Dominican heritage. And what was it like? Well, growing up in Miami was very Latin. I always felt I never felt like a minority. In fact, because I grew up in Miami, I grew up with a lot of Peruvian, Colombians, Venezuelans, fellow Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, a lot of Cubans. So for me, being Latin was commonplace. It was every day, you know? It wasn't until I moved to New York that I started sort of feeling like, oh, okay, I'm not, the majority, even though New York has a very thriving Latino community. But it wasn't until I moved here that I realized that I had it sort of made in Miami. Not had it made, but I was if you're Latino in Miami, you are the majority, and that was an interesting experience.
I will say that. So far we've also had Hugo Ramirez, right, and Yohannes Machina, both Colombian American.
Okay.
So both of the parents are from Colombia, and they're both first generation. So you're the third Latino first generation
Latinos
on the show. That's a great start. So I'm going to just go to the next one because I know you have something or a few things to tell me. But what life experience had the greatest impact on you?
The biggest thing that has influenced me was at the tender age of 14, 15, watching Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time. And I wasn't even in a theater. It was it was Halloween. It was on VH1 because VH1 would play it every Halloween. I was home in my bedroom watching it, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? How have I never come across it? And it was the first time I saw a man in heels and makeup and being fabulous and owning it, and it wasn't pathetic. It was, it was like he was a very, very powerful figure, Dr. Frankenfurter was. And even though I have issues with the end of the movie, I still loved his unabashed confidence in himself. And I have to say that really stuck with me. And after that, it was just like I educated myself in all things queer. I lived right by a video store called West Coast Video. And so I would walk there all the time and rent movies from the queer section. And I came out at 14, so I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't afraid of going to the queer section and getting something. I had no qualms about that. And then shortly after that, I started working there, and then I continued, renting movies, and I schooled myself in everything that was at the time, like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Tu Wong Fu when it came out. I was just like, all of my favorite movies are all about drag queens. And then eventually I had to be like, what does that mean?
You know what drag stands for, right?
What, drag?
You know who invented the word Shakespeare invented drag.
Okay.
Because boys acted the girls' parts.
Right, that I know.
So it was dressed resembling a girl.
Oh, wow.
Drag. That goes back to the 17th century.
Well, I knew that there was drag in Shakespeare. I just didn't know that it was an acronym.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what it was. That's what it stands for.
I love that.
How about that? I remember seeing Rocky Horror when I was a teenager. Same time I saw Dolly Parton. We used to go see it at the Uniondale Mini Cinema, which was one of the great cult movie theaters of all time. It was on Long Island, and we would go to see it. I think I saw it something like 26 times. So I was a big devotee of that film. I used to see it midnight shows and Sunday afternoons. We would go, and everybody would be dressed up.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, like participating in the audience participation, was here in what now is called Sinopolis. You know it's like right here.
Oh yeah, down the block. Yes.
Yeah, but I didn't love the live experience because it was a lot of NYU kids, and I felt very like protective of rugby. I was like, oh, you're just doing this now, but like you're gonna forget about it, or blah blah blah. This is like a cool thing to do. Yeah. Like I was engrossed in that movie, and that ultimately is what led me to explore drag. Was that movie?
That's something else. People used to actually go to the movie theater with spray bottles when it was raining, and people walked down the aisles with newspapers over their head because it was raining. People would throw toast when there was a toast. Right, yeah. Cards for sorrow, cards for pain. People would throw cards. Cards for pain. Yeah, so that's So it was cards for sorrow, wasn't it? Cards for sorrow, cards for pain.
Yeah, and I always love like when he's going like before he sort of poo-poos that card, some audience member like in front of the light, so you see the shadow puppet sort of like pokes him in the butt. Do you know what I mean? So then so he like bats away the hand.
So now we know what we're going to have a talk about this. What would you say to anyone interested in an aspect of your experience? Meaning, if someone wanted to explore an idea or prospective opportunity based on what you can tell them, what would be the main thing to encourage or discourage them?
When I think about this question, immediately what I think about is my regret in not delving into drag sooner. With many things, not only in my life, but also my mom's life and my sister's, we're sort of almost like late bloomers in that we sort of blossom. We blossom later in life. And I really wish, one of your other questions I know talks about regret. I'm going to bring it all together. Okay. But I really wish I'd started earlier. And there was a lot there. There was fear. There was fear of looking stupid. There was fear of I'm not going to do it properly. There was, what does this mean about me? Am I secretly trans? Like all this stuff that I had to grapple with, right? So what I would tell people about interested in my experience is just fucking do it. If you're interested in doing drag, just fucking do it. It is liberating. It is incredible. It's so much fun. I can't think of anybody who's done drag and has come out of it being like, meh, I won't do that again. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone that's ever tried it absolutely loves and adores it. So if it's something that you want to pursue or even just try once, just fucking grow a pair and then tuck that pair.
Okay.
And just do it.
That is awesome. I have my own experience and not the world's foremost. Definitely more along the Monty Python version of drag. So when I've done it, it's always for laughs. But I did do Sue Creek Gable at Halloween. I don't know if you know who Sue Creek Gable was. She was the center of the Bess Myers and Annie Capasso scandal in the 80s. Her parents were attorneys and they somehow got her a job working for somebody. Or her parents were the judge or something. But it was connected to a divorce of somebody who was going out with Bess Myerson, who was Ed Koch's beard. Mm. And she was a former Miss America. And she was known as to be a little bit, let's say, eccentric. Okay. So I went on Halloween as her, and I got a lot of screams. So I enjoyed it very, very much. And plus, it was a whole night. It wasn't just like an hour or 20 minutes, So it was fun.
If you're going to get dressed up like that and wear the heels and be uncomfortable, may as well make it the whole night, Make it an event.
It was funny. And plus, all the people who kind of like cemented the idea that I was gay. They kind of knew. It was like, nobody would do it as well as I did. And I've done some other since then, but nothing. That was the kickoff. That was like the one you just had so much fun doing that it made you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that question and my personal story, we're going to edit a lot of the stuff out to keep the time.
I want to see pictures of you and Brad.
There's pictures of this video. What is your most noteworthy achievement?
Most noteworthy achievement. I would have to say a lot of what I do is I don't nothing that in my life has ever been really really premeditated or like there's a lot of like shooting from the hip. Is that this?
Sure.
There's just a lot of instinctual and a lot of like I'm gonna do this now. It's a lot of impulsiveness in my life. As I mature, I try and curb it a little bit, but I say this to say that at 24, right after graduating, no, I was 2004. I was 22. Yeah, I was 22. I graduated college and I was just like, I had tickets to come see Madonna in New York. And I came to see Madonna, and then I decided, without having a job, without having a savings account, really, without having much of anything in my checking account, without having a safety net, without having much of anything, I was like, I'm gonna fucking make it work now. Here.
Wow, that was ballsy.
And that was 2004.
You're
fast forward 14 years later, I'm still here.
So you're what, like 8 years older than me. Wow.
Yes, but my Latin skin, I like to say Latina don't patina.
Okay. As I always say, I'm an Irish sweater. And just, I'm a walking barometer, so there's always a thin layer of water between me and my underwear.
Irish sweater. I like that.
Okay, so following up, because this is another one, it's a good corollary. What is the biggest personal challenge you have faced? Personal injury, a seemingly overwhelming task, a personal or professional goal, a difficult decision you had to overcome, difficult situation?
So the thing that is always with me is, and I feel like it's kind of tied to being impulsive and moving here, at 22 with nothing, no real plan, other than a college degree, but no job or anything, was that I sort of stumbled for a while in landing on my feet. I had so many odd jobs. There was one time where, this is before Vitamin Water got bought by Coca-Cola, when they were just like hitting the street. I was part of their street marketing team.
Oh, were you really? Okay.
Yeah, and I had to drive this Freightliner Sprinter all throughout New Jersey.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was one of my first gigs here.
Big thing to drive. Yeah, you know how to drive over this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Miami, and in Miami you have to drive. In Miami, I had a driver's license at like 15 years old.
I do. I can't drive a stick, and people can't believe I can actually drive.
I can't drive a stick.
I can.
I drive automatic.
Okay.
Yeah, but no. So yeah, like I drove a Freightliner Sprinter throughout Jersey. I was an extra in a PBS telethon, like in the background, like pretending to take calls.
Oh, that's all pretend?
Well, that was for PBS.
Ah,
I don't know if all of them are.
Really?
Yeah, but I have a suspicion that yes, it's all pretend. I don't really think that like when these celebrities do it, I don't think they're really taking your money. Celebrities don't know how to do anything if it's not done for them. So yeah, they're probably just like reciting apples, peaches, pears into the phone.
Wow, I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
But yeah, so I hopped from like job to job. I waited tables for a long time. It killed my feet. Ugh. I was just trying to land and trying to, I had this, like when you're young and you excel in school, people just tell you like, if you do well in school, you're going to go to college. After, you get good grades in college, and then like you come out, and then the world is your oyster. And that's not the way the world works. And, and that, so having to figure out my career, at the same time that I fell into a depression, at the same time that my partner left me, like all this whole thing, like my entire world crumbled. And it's funny because right after he left me, right after we broke up, I got the gig that like has set me up for my career since. So I think that's been the hardest thing is that 2-year depression, not knowing where my life was headed, feeling aimless, feeling like New York was defeating me, feeling like I'm going to be nothing, I am nothing, feelings of very little self-worth, very little self-confidence, having to overcome that, which is still a daily struggle. It's still to this day a daily struggle. I still have to like talk myself off a ledge sometimes. You know? But yeah, that was the hardest thing I've done, and it's a direct result of not having a plan, just moving here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
Well, I can also tell you my own experience because I spent 17 years in the restaurant business. I'm everything from a chef, graduate, French Culinary Institute, and I waited at tables, attended bar. After 4 drinks, everybody is an asshole. And the damage that the post-traumatic stress that you inflicted upon you by people who seem to live to damage your self-esteem is unreal. And what you have to go through just to make a decent living or to make a living, it's hard enough. And then there's people just constantly battering you. So I understand that. That must have been a tough thing. It had to have been tough. On top of everything else. Just that one thing. Because it's not the nice people. It's that one person that gets under your skin. And that affects you for days. Doesn't it?
I remember there was one day where I was so beaten down. I was just walking down the street and a person accidentally bumped into me here in New York. And that sent me to a tailspin. That sent me to like I'm nothing. Everyone hates me. I'm worthless. Like it's just like little things like that.
Yeah, sure. Because people, it gets under your skin, and you weren't expecting it to hit you where you live, and that's really really tough. And I know that is, and it's a cool thing. So this is a great follow up. So what would you say was a transformational moment of your life? A meaningful job, a reason to belong to something, being a parent, good job, bad job. What was the thing that transformed you? There had to be something that transformed you, especially after going through that rough patch.
That, well, I mean, interestingly enough, like after that, we broke up right before Pride, and this is Pride 2011. I marched. No. Okay, yeah. So we broke up right before Pride. That weekend was the very first weekend I did full drag.
Really?
Yes. The very next day, I walked in the Pride parade with Macy's with a friend. And it was just that weekend was transformational because before I did drag, I mentioned earlier some of the fear. Some of that came from my ex-partner. I remember expressing to him, after watching one too many Beyonce videos and being drunk, I was like, I think I want to do drag. I want to try drag one day. And he was like, that's fucking disgusting. And that just dragged me more, like that pushed me more down, like, oh, I have to swallow this. I can't let this out. So when we broke up, the very first thing that I wanted to do was like, well, fuck it, and like I'm free now. And that was the very first 2011 was the first time I did full drag, and that just kicked the door open for what I am today, and that eventually led to the birth of Stella Novella.
That's fabulous. I still don't understand why some people within our community have such disdainful disregard for drag especially since, hello, Stonewall, like exactly. Lesbians and drag queens. What I don't understand. Exactly. But on top of the fact that the nicest
Sylvia
people
Rivera.
Yes.
And Marsha P. Johnson. Yeah, exactly. I can't speak for everybody. What I can say is the feelings of why I first didn't do it. And again, it goes back to masculinity. It doesn't make me less of a man. I think and I'm dating someone right now who is awesome about it. But I have dated in the past, and then when they found out that I do drag, you can sort of see the
changes things.
Yeah, like you can see the sort of like like that attraction to you. You can just see it like leave, their face. And then after that, like things, like dissipated.
Really?
I don't know. I really wish people understood that it doesn't make you any less of a man, and most fucking drag queens are tops. So, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And I actually have had extraordinarily good times with drag queens, and I've said this to many people many times, is I learned more from queens who had no choice, but they like someone else told me a long time ago, like these are people who've been out since hatching, and like they've had to deal with it, battle on the chin all day long, every day, their entire life, and the most compassionate people, the most sensual people, the best teachers, and everything from culture to understanding your feelings and how to act on them. All been people who have been written off as being effeminate or something less than men. Like, well, you're fine with me, and you've taught me more than all these other guys who aren't in touch with themselves. Yeah. So, like, thank you all. That's my attitude because they've been fantastic to me. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get to what is my most cliche question, but I get really good answers on this, and it's surprisingly consistent. What drives you? What gets you up in the morning? What's a thing that gets you motivated every day?
So, I actually had trouble with this question because I was like, what does drive me? What gets me up is I don't even set an alarm. Like, what gets me up is my internal clock. That's what wakes me up in the morning, if we're being literal. But what drives me, there is this need to when this carcass, is rotting. I want like a legacy. I want people to remember me and remember what I did professionally in my job and extracurricularly outside of work and what kind of person I was, what kind of lover I was, what kind of father I was to my dog, what kind of roommate I was, like what kind of coworker, like I just want to be the best version of Charlie Fish so that when I'm gone, that's what people remember.
That's a pretty great thing to aspire to. So following up to this question, what is the first thing you want to come to people's minds when they think of you?
The first thing.
Yeah. What is the first thing when someone says Charlie Fish? What do you want them to think of? What's the image? What's the idea?
For some reason, I'm getting a visual of just me smiling.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
pretty good.
the first thing. Yeah. When I was reviewing this, I was like, words like creative, but like, I think it goes back to what you just said about Maya Angelou. I want people to remember how I made them feel.
Very good. See? This is a good question, and I'm surprised at the difference in the complexity of answers from everybody. What is your Zen?
My Zen is my bedroom, a bowl, I smoke weed, a good TV show, my dog cuddling at my feet, and my man cuddling next to me, or like with his head sleeping on my chest.
Aww.
That's my Zen.
Well, that's pretty good Zen.
I'm obsessed with my bedroom. I sometimes will not leave in the weekends. I mean, like, my bedroom is mostly in the wintertime when it's like freezing outside. I'm just like, my bedroom is just too darn cozy. My bed is incredible. I'm surrounded by all the things I love.
Yeah.
I have my wigs and my my artwork on the walls and.
This question. Now, some people have problems with this one, and some people speak about it very philosophically. Other people say cut and dry. But let's see how you go with this one. The question is the threshold. The threshold is, to me, it's like the threshold is you've reached a point of there's no turning back. You can't go back. You're not going to go back. So when I say, what's the threshold? How did you know when you arrived there? How did it feel to cross it? What was the significance to you? What did you leave behind? What are you glad you left? And what do you regret leaving behind?
Damn, that's a lot to unpack. My mind is like spinning right now. There's immediately I think of drag, and the threshold was for me. Sometimes also life has been little dots here and there, where at first they didn't make sense, and then later on, when you've come out of the thing and you look back and you realize all the dots were connected and they made sense. Like there was I don't know, for lack of there, maybe it's a greater power, so to speak. For me, with drag, because it's been part of my life for forever, since I watched, but even before watching Rocky Horror, I remember like putting on my mom's shoes and stuff like that, and reading RuPaul's first book, Letting It All Hang Out. So all of that came together when I was trying to develop this drag persona. I had lots of different names. Like there was Charlize Lafong, but like it still didn't feel like it clicked, and okay. My look hadn't clicked yet. I still didn't like figure out my makeup yet. Like it hadn't clicked, and then one day I a really good friend of mine was like, "You're so dramatic. You should be called Dynasty Telenovela because you're just all shows all the time." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cute." And then I remember running to another friend and telling another friend separate from the friend that told me that. And I was like, "Oh yeah, my friend Danny just named me Dynasty Telenovela." And then my other friend goes, "No, just be Stella Novella." And I was like, "What?" And that was it. Like that was. And that was the threshold, because that that was May 1st of 2016, May 1st. And I think the following weekend I had been in Fire Island, and that was when I actually debuted Stella Novella with the makeup that I wanted, the wig that I wanted, like everything clicked.
I think I saw the video of that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And
Okay.
you had a big boa?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you were vamping?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I remember. Yes.
That was the official birth, because I mean, my friends like say like, no, Stella's always been there, and yeah, she had been there, but she wasn't fully formed. You know what I mean? Like
that's there's no going back.
There is no going
right.
back.
That's
there
right.
is no going back.
So
exactly.
So when Stella, you gave birth to Stella.
Exactly. And seeing my friends' reactions, because they used to always, because when I get dressed, I take my time, and I want to do things right, and they'd always be like, "Bitch, hurry up! We want shows already. Bitch, hurry up! Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready yet?" And they were so they were like, "This bitch is not like taking her sweet time, and she's not even gonna look all that good." And when I came out and I slayed the house, and just seeing the reactions, how did it feel? It felt pretty fucking incredible, and it felt like, okay, this is what everything has been leading towards, and it felt like all the dots were connecting. And it's an incredible feeling. And I feel like that was one threshold, and now there are other dots being laid out in the groundwork that I still don't know what's going to happen with them. But I feel like, again, like 2 or 3 years from now, I'll look back and say, oh, those dots were connecting to lead me to this next chapter.
There's something else driving you. There's something else that's giving you some sort of inspiration.
This is the way I was made.
Yeah. This
is what I try and tell, like, my family or people that don't understand it. This is just the way my wires were wired. This is just the way I was made.
That's
like it's always been there. I ignored it for a long time. I shoved it down, and then I finally was like, all right, this is just part of who I am.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't not be that way.
So now we've done my first 10 questions. We're getting to the 10 questions you selected, and which question have you decided to respond to?
Okay. What is your name? What do you think of when you think of yourself?
Okay, that's a good question, and I want to say you're not the only person to answer this question.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right.
So this is great. We have something. We're building up a little well of this. Good. So tell me.
My name is Charlie Fish, but I wasn't born Charlie Fish. I was born Charles with a different last name.
Okay.
And at 14, a lot of pivotal things happened to me, 14, 15. But at 14, I started going by Charlie Fish, mostly because it was a nickname people would always... Growing up, I always got, like, Charles in Charge, other, like, Charlie Brown, and then Charlie the Tuna, being, like, the little mascot from the
Star Kiss too.
Exactly. So that led to people calling me Charlie the Fish, and then I was like, no, fuck, drop the fish, Charlie Fish.
Really?
And then I was like, if you're gonna call me by this name, I'm gonna take it and own it and be better at it, you know? So I became Charlie Fish at 14, and then I made it legal in 2008.
Oh, wow.
So when I think of that name, I think of identity and my very clear-cut understanding from an early age that I could shape my identity. I could shape my identity to what I wanted to be. And there's lots of stuff there too. Like my father wasn't in the picture for a very long time. We're closer now, but I was also raised by 4 women, all of whom had different last names. So I was like, I don't need to have a last name to be family. Like, that doesn't make you family. So I was like, I can drop my original last name. I can be this person that I want to be. It tied into the gay thing. It tied into daddy issues. It tied into my wanting the sort of... I felt like it was very like theatrical, but I felt like that name was just gonna like open doors for me. Not that it did, but I thought it was, I thought it was gonna be this like huge like... But yeah, but like it goes down to...
Hey, you only just begun. You never know. Yeah.
So that's what I think of when I think of Charlie Fish. Everything that that's led me to be this person today. My whole life has just been me trying to be me. Yeah. I'm covered in tattoos. I've had corporate jobs, but I'm covered in tattoos. Like I've always been like forcefully in your face me.
Yeah.
I've been very out and loud and
proud.
And proud and yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so now what's the next question? That's only the second, only up to number 2 or number 12.
There was a question here about like my pet peeves.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That when people get that one, and they get to sink their teeth into that one. Okay, so the question is,
the grievances.
what is the most grievous offense you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis from others? It gets under your skin, whether it's rudeness, sloppiness, carelessness, something you have no room for in your mental landscape. The thing that irks you, someone not closing the door or repeatedly mispronouncing something, stuff like that. What's the thing? What's that one thing that drives you?
I have to be honest. It used to be things like mispronouncing, or it used to be like the differences in growing up in the South versus the North. There's little idioms that are different. Like for instance, when I first moved to New York, hearing people say "next online" drove me crazy because in Miami it's next in line, and I would say I'm not surfing the web. But like but now like I don't I've been here so long now that it doesn't bother anymore. The thing that is a really grievous offense now are people whom are so attention seeking, and they're so like they need all the spotlight to themselves, so much so that in conversation they won't even stop to ask you a question about yourself. It's all them and how great they are. Like if I'm having a conversation with someone and you don't care and you don't stop to ask me about myself,
you're just a place marker.
Immediately, yeah. I write you off. Immediately. That's happened on dates. It's happened with colleagues. It's happened like with if I immediately write you off. If you are so self-centered that you can't ask the person you're having a conversation with, if you my only reason to be sitting across from you is to have someone listen to you speak, then no, then that's a person I want nothing to do with. I have no room in my life for people like that. Zero.
Okay. I can't agree with you more. And it's one of a body of responses that I've gotten from people. But I've also been guilty of being pedantic to the point where like, it's not how you pronounce it. Like it doesn't make life better or worse. And here we are again.
Okay. All right.
So now,
what is your quest? The thing you must do at one point in your life above all else.
Yes. What is your quest?
My quest is before my quest used to be do drag, right? And then I conquered that. Now I want to have a semi-regular gig. Like, I'd love to host a drag brunch. Like, that's my next quest. Like, have a semi-regular gig where I can't do every weekend because, I guess I could, but just have a steady gig.
For now, you want to start doing something, okay?
Yeah. I don't want to quit my day job. I like what I do, like in my career. I want to have both. I want both. I want to see how far my career can take me. I want to see how far drag can take me, and I want to do both. I don't want to give one up.
I don't think you should. I think you could have dual tracks, and maybe one might overtake the other, or what?
Or maybe there'll be a third track, and you never know.
You never know. You never know where life leads you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's taking the step.
Or like I keep saying, those dots will connect.
Absolutely, something will become of this because you'll be the guy, or Stella. Yeah. What do you want to look at?
Let's see. Is there anything you cannot live without? I cannot. Yes. I cannot live without music. Music is always in my mind. I listen to it all the time. I devour lyrics. I sometimes will make up little songs. I cannot live without music. It's like some people listen to, for instance, like all my friends are always trying to be like, you should really check out this amazing podcast. I'm like, that's great, but if I'm not listening to music all the time, I lose my mind. So I need to. I can listen to like a podcast here and there, but like for me, I need music all the time. I work with music.
Okay, you're not the only person to talk about this. So,
well, I'm sure DG probably talked about that too.
Absolutely, that's actually correct. And Garrett Vorbeck was also he's extraordinarily talented. So other people have spoken to me about music.
If I could change something about myself, either for myself or for another. I don't know if this is because I'm Latino or what, but I have some sort of trust and jealousy issues that I would definitely love to actually work on. In fact, I'm actually in therapy for that. So that's what I'm actively working to resolve.
Okay. So you have trust issues.
Yeah.
A lot of gay men have trust issues.
Yeah.
Because
And so with, I think I don't know if it's a goal, but the older I get, the more that I sort of think maybe monogamy might not be for me, but there's no way I could do open relationships with my trust issues. You know what I mean? Like I need to work on that.
Okay. A lot of gay men have a sense of betrayal at a certain point of their life, whether it was in their formative years or relationships, and that looms heavy a lot.
Yeah.
So I can see that, and that's I think there's a lot of common ground with other men. So
Good.
yes,
I'm glad to know I'm not alone in
no,
that.
I don't think you're alone. I think it's a struggle a lot of us have to deal with, and the fact that you're addressing it and facing it is pretty cool.
Well, I'm doing it because I'm in a relationship right now that I want to work.
Okay.
I want it to survive.
Very good.
Yeah. Would you say you are more freewheeling or structured?
Yeah.
I think you can pretty much guess that I am definitely very freewheeling. There is not a whole lot of structure in my life, and that's okay for me. It's okay. I'm impulsive and instinctual and freewheeling.
What is your first goal when interacting with strangers?
My first goal when interacting with strangers is establish common ground. See like how we are similar. How do I relate? Can I relate to this person? How do I relate to this person? Or how can this person relate to me?
All right, that's a good one. I feel that's. I think a few other people have said the same thing too. Surprising many people like to answer that question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because they think they want to either be like genuine or real, or fellow is considerate, or connect with them somehow, make a joke, but like bond somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I can get them to laugh, that's great too.
Okay.
What do you want to be better at?
What do you want to be better
I would love to be so. I feel like I am a good writer. I'm in communications. I feel like I can get my point across in the written word very well. But something about like holding a meeting or getting my point across verbally, sometimes I trip over my words a lot. And being in communications, it's the thing that I'm hardest on myself about. I haven't received any feedback or criticism or even heard anything to the contrary, but it's something that I feel like I wish I were better at. I wish I were a better orator, because it's my field, it's my profession. I do it really well written, but sometimes I feel like I don't come across as eloquently or as sometimes even concisely as I want to. Sometimes I feel like I struggle for words, and I'm like I feel like I look like I'm all over the place. And that's a big insecurity of mine.
Cool.
If you could throw it all away.
Yeah, okay. Now, here's the question is, if you could throw it all away, be a rock star, astronaut, movie star, firefighter, bartender in paradise, etc., what would it be and why?
It would be something akin to like a Cher or J-Lo, where they're a renowned actress and an amazing singer-performer. Not that I can be a singer-performer, but like if like in a dream world. This is like a dream thing. Yeah. I would be like a triple threat, like singer, actor, dancer.
Oh, I've got this question too, and I was so surprised at the answer to this. So the question is, ever fake anything and get away with it? Either get away with or just get caught, called out, and utterly destroyed? Details, please.
New Year's 2003.
Oh.
Art Basel is in Miami Beach.
Okay.
I'm there with my then boyfriend. Art Basel back then just like handed out drinks for free. So, because it was much smaller, Art Basel back then. Now it's this huge thing. I got so fucking shit-faced that in my head, I said it'd be a good idea. Plus, it was like there's like artsy-fartsy people there, blah, blah, blah. In my head, I was like, I should be British. So I started affecting a British accent.
And you were wasted.
I was wasted.
Okay, so how'd that go?
From what I remember, not so well. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I cringe like thinking about this. But I had people like being like, And then I came. I feel like I came to the store. People were like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I think I remember telling them like a particular place in England that I was from.
And they knew about it, like Checkfordshire or something.
But then people would like. Then I noticed that like I got really sloppy. And people like just literally stopped mid sentence and just walked away from me. Or my accent would change. Like at one point it was Cockney, another point it was like something else.
Yes.
And then I got a lot of quizzical looks and a lot of like, huh. So no one like that I remember. No one flat out like called me out. But people walked away. People were like not having it. Then I ended with me puking, like hanging outside of my boyfriend's car. Just like puking all the way from Miami Beach to our apartment. So don't attempt a foreign accent if you're drunk. Or ever, really. You just really shouldn't.
Unless you've already got it. What is your favorite weather?
Ooh. I'm a big fan of San Francisco weather. I like how you can wear a sweater in one block and the next block you can take it off, and then at night it's like I don't do well in oppressively cold or oppressively hot temperature, even though I live in New York.
So light jacket weather.
I want to be able to wear a light jacket and then take it off if I want. Like if it gets nice and warm. Like I want to say like I want 70s year round, like San Diego weather. Okay. Basically. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so this one I've got a good question, and I'm surprised at the answers I got. Your most treasured possession?
My dog, but she's not a possession, but like, I don't know, I feel weird about saying this. What's my favorite? I love my dog to pieces. She's not a possession, she's a
living being. You care for.
But she's my most treasured living.
Most you treasure?
But then in terms of actual things that I own, I just invested, I want to say close to $700 on 2 wigs that I'm obsessed with. So
really?
There's a lot of money going into drag. A lot of money. A lot. Okay. I spend a lot of money on drag.
So I think your identity and a lot to do with being in drag. So that might be your most treasured possession, aside from your dog, because she's
not a possession. She's my dog.
Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't gotten to yet that peers all have under their belts?
That peers have under their belts.
They all can do it, and you're like you like, I gotta learn how to do that. I gotta do that. So there you go. Okay, so there you go. There you go.
I need to learn how to sew.
There you go.
Or that way I can like make my own. You know what I mean? Make my own outfits and stuff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But that feels like such a massive undertaking. I don't even know if it's Okay. There's so much to drag. There's one step at a time. Yeah, I conquered. I taught myself makeup.
Okay.
But there's styling wigs, which is another art, which is why I just spent $700 on 2 wigs. Then there's all the clothes, right? And then it's all bringing it together and being proportioned, having right proportions, and you have like larger than life and all that stuff, and one step at a time, like you said.
Okay, so we'll do 2 more. Okay. So the question will be, do you have a mentor or a role model?
So I feel like people have unofficially mentored me. If I may be so bold, I even feel like I've learned stuff from you and from Carol when I was at NBC. I've never had an official mentor. I wish I'd had an official mentor. Now what I do is I try to mentor. I try to give back to the youth. So because I never had an official mentor, I try to now be one. And then in terms of role model, it's changed over the years. I was so fascinated by, this might sound cheesy, but like Madonna's like business acumen. Like I was,
okay.
And that spilled over to, there was a long time where I wrote for a photography magazine. I got to interview all these amazing photographers, and they're all just like such fucking hard workers, like just like dogged. That kind of stuff like is what I look up to, and just like the constant struggle and the never giving up and like working hard all the time. So role models have been mostly like work ethic wise.
That's a great role model. So here's the last question. I'm going to ask you the last question. What should everybody know about you?
Everyone should know that bearded queens are going to take over the world.
Okay. And with that, we're going to wrap up.
Thank you so much, Tim. This is so much fun.
This is always a pleasure. This is a most enjoyable experience, and I'm so glad you came. I'm so
If you
glad
ever
you
want
got
me to come back, I will.
We have already got sequels with a few people, so
All right.
you're definitely on the list.
Excellent.
I can't tell you how much I enjoy this, folks. As we say, as they say all the time, we shall see you next time. And as the kiddies say, peace out.
Peace out.
And thanks so much. And we'll add some more later. Everybody, peace out.
Bye.